Hello, I am Scott Herbst. I am founder of Six Flex Training and Consulting, and you are listening to or watching The Flex, a show where we have conversations with people who are expressing leadership with the intention that it open access to you expressing yours. I am really excited and grateful to have with us today Diah Askari. And Diah is the founder and executive director of ABA Services at Step Applied Behavior Analysis Services at Step Forward ABA. They provide in-home, in-clinic, in-community, all of the above ABA services to children with autism. They're operating in 8 different states and growing. As usual, I am going to let you hear Diah's story from Diah. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Where I always love to start each of these conversations is I would love to hear your leadership journey, starting wherever you see it's important to start from. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, where would you say your journey started?
Well, I could take it back to the beginning and how I got into the field. I think that's a good
Yeah,
place to start because it's a little interesting. And I feel like the stories of how people got into the field were always very interesting about maybe 10 years ago or so. Now it's
yeah,
ABA has grown so much, it's much more common where a lot of people know about it and, oh, my friend told me about it. But
yeah.
if you go back at least 10 years, you're going to start getting some interesting stories. So I started in the field in 2011. I was certified in
Uh-huh.
2013. But at the time I was in grad school for psychology, I was planning to get my doctorate in child psychology, wanted to be a child psychologist.
Yeah,
But I was also a broke grad student. I needed work and I had just moved to Florida. And I'm looking for any job I could find. Like I was literally open. I was taking interviews for like to be a server at Cheesecake Factory.
yeah.
But then I found an ad on Craigslist. I don't know how popular
Craigslist.
Craigslist is. Yeah. Uh,
Wow.
I don't know if it's very popular anymore, but it's like an online.
Yeah.
How would you describe it? Like
It's
not a job board.
Craigslist.org, and they sell everything from lawnmowers to boats to cars to babysitting services to
Sure.
employment. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's job ads on there. And it was titled Autism Therapist. And I'm looking at that and I'm also seeing $8 an hour. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this bad or but this could look really good on a resume for when I was trying to get my PhD because I was in my master's
Yeah.
program. Um, so I was just reading the description. It was talking about applied behavior analysis. I have my undergraduate degree in psychology communications, and I'm currently in my master's program in psychology, but I'd never heard of applied behavior analysis specifically. So I'm just Googling about applied behavior analysis, trying to figure out what this is. And then I get an interview, and I go in that interview. It goes really well. And then when I started training, I started to see ABA in action, right? And my view of autism at the time was admittedly very limited to like what was portrayed in the media a lot. Like today, I think awareness about what autism is has grown exponentially. But 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't. People weren't very aware of what autism is. And what you saw in the media was largely what you would see in movies like Rain Man and things of that nature. And then you would make assumptions about people on the spectrum. And like this overall idea was that a lot of these people don't have many options in life, that they aren't going to go very far. So when I first started seeing ABA and during my training process, I remember just seeing progress immediately in these kids learning so fast and so many things that I wouldn't have thought possible just based on my ignorance.
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated by it. And I loved the scientific nature of it. And that was really cool as well. And I already wanted to work with children. So as soon as I got started, I knew this is what I wanted to do. It was no longer, okay, I want to be a child psychologist. And then I found out my program that I was currently getting a master's in had a specialization in applied behavior analysis. So I added that to my degree and I collected my hours. And over the next 2 years, I finished my hours, finished my degree, and then passed my exam in 2013, the first
And
time
your
I took
hours
it.
are your supervised hours for anyone who
Yeah,
doesn't know. Yep. So you
yeah,
can
my
live
supervised
with the
hours.
potential. Yep.
And then I passed my exam, and then I started working as a BCBA. And I'm down here in South Florida is where I got all my experience. So in the Miami, Broward, Fort Lauderdale area. And I contracted with a few companies over the years. And I started to see the good and the bad and everything in between. Um,
Yeah.
just contracting a few different places. There was one particular place I contracted for the whole time, but I did get some other jobs, other places, trying to find what worked for me. Some places would offer more money, some places would offer different things. But there were certain things about the company I was with that, I enjoyed. But then I decided it was time to start my own practice. I was kind of looking for the right scenario to do that. But it didn't always present itself. I had a lot of friends who did start practices almost immediately, and I was, you know, um, jealous of in a way that they did that. But like from me personally, it was like I need to know that I'm in a position that I'm comfortable to do it the right way, the way that I feel like I would be able to best provide these services, and also be in a place in my life where financially it would make sense, right? So I knew I needed a partner. I wasn't going to do it by myself. And then I did find a partner. I was able to start the practice, and we did it under the name Mighty Heroes. Um, and it was cool. I liked the branding and everything. But we didn't do much. We did that for about 4 years. It was like a side gig for me. We didn't invest that much time into it. I wasn't doing it full time. So my partner, so I met some guys from New York who were interested in getting involved in the field. They essentially bought out my partner, came in. I was able to go full time into my practice. We became Step Forward ABA, and this was in 2021, the end of 2021. So going into 2022, and since then we grew from about 5 clients in Miami to, working in 8 states in about was that 4 years? About 4 years now. So we've grown pretty fast. So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah. How that is growth, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your experience growing. And I'm just so curious how you went from having a few clients to a multi-state organization, and particularly interested in what you learned about yourself along the way and how you had to grow with the company to um, to actually effectively lead as you scale.
Sure. A lot of lessons learned, I'll tell you that much. And it's such a short amount of time, and there's plenty of lessons to be learned, and a lot of the mistakes you make along the way are the best lessons. It's unfortunate when you make those mistakes, but you learn from them and you can grow. From my perspective, and also kind of just seeing what other people do, what's worked for me is finding partners to do the things that aren't my strengths or the things that like I particularly don't enjoy doing, right? When it
Yeah.
comes to business. I'm very entrepreneurial minded. I like business, but that's not my specialty. I'm a behavior analyst. I enjoy connecting with people. I enjoy I like the people aspect of it with the clients, the kids we're working with, the families we're working with, the and then employees. That's my favorite part of it, and I want to focus on ABA. So I made sure I had partners who did the other side of it, and I wanted to build out a practice that it kept that framework and applied it to everyone. So when clinicians come to our company, they can focus on the clinical aspect of ABA, while our administrative team handles as much of the administrative burden as possible. And then even in terms of growth, we have one of my partners, he handles the marketing aspect of it. I don't have to worry about Google searches and figuring out all that stuff because we have people who do that. I can focus on building out the clinical side of the business, and that's really what I think has worked best for me. And when I give advice to BCBAs who want to start their own company, the first thing I say, if you are willing to partner with somebody, try not to partner with another BCBA unless from the very beginning you outline what those roles and responsibilities are going to be. Otherwise, you're both going to be wanting to do the same thing and you're going to resent the other person when you have to do the things that neither of you want to do. And I've seen that happen. And I'm not saying it can't work, it can. People have obviously done it. But from my perspective, the best way to do it is to understand what your role is and they understand what their role is, and everybody know that from the beginning.
Yeah. I really want to underline that, point to that, because I think that's having worked with a lot of business owners, that's a place where people get stuck, is thinking that we're taking the perspective that they've got to do it all, or that they've got to know how to do it all.
Hmm.
And I really like two things you said. One I'm really inferring, but it's uh real well, no, you said this. Like, get really clear about, this is what I want to do, and this is what I like doing. And there's probably people who will enjoy, I mean, there's people who love sales, right?
In
Like
finance and
marketing,
accounting and
like
payroll.
loves how to crack, like how do
Yeah.
we crack into a new market, and how do we, like, people, my brother-in-law loves that, right?
Yeah.
Loves it. Not my thing. So get clear on what you don't like, so that you can focus on what you do like. And oh, and I forget what else I was going to say. I guess that's just a really great point, that that I see people get stuck on, where they think because they've got a business, they've got to do it all. And oh no, the second thing was, I really, really like, and I hadn't considered this till you said it, that, like, don't get a business partner who's a BCBA. Or if you do, get a BCBA who's, if you love clinical work, have it be someone who loves building organizations.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
Um yeah, so okay. What else? You said you've made a bunch of mistakes and you've learned from them. Will you keep sharing?
Share the mistakes. I mean, there's like an infinite number of them. What I've always tried to do, like I like to think outside the box, think of like creative solutions. And it's difficult because I want to build a company that I would want to work at, right? And
Yeah.
along the way as an employee, especially online, you see it too. You're always looking at work-life balance and you should have these benefits and this and this. And you start to create this list of all the things that would be great to have as an employee, right? And the things you wish you had, um, and the things you wish you don't have, or you wish that a company doesn't do to you. And then you try to build a practice that can incorporate all of those things. But soon you start to realize you are limited. You're limited by a lot of constraints that do make it difficult to do everything you want to do. Um, and resources is one of them. Like especially if you are trying to grow, you're realizing you're in today's day and age, you're competing against giant PE billion-dollar firms. They have a lot of leverage that you're not going to be able to have. So if like you're not necessarily going to be able to compete on pay scales with some of the bigger companies, but maybe there's something else you can offer that they can't offer. You got to try to figure out what those are. But also in that vein, in terms of mistakes, like leaning too much into trying to always, it's difficult to say, but like trying to figure out exactly what would be ideal for the employee. But sometimes doing that, you miss out on what's best for the company, right? And then it's trying to find what that balance is. We've made a lot of mistakes by pushing too far into one end and not the other, and vice versa. So just trying to find what that balance is across the board, I think, has been a pretty big challenge, and we're still trying to figure it out.
How do you know? So what I hear is that there's a balance between staying focused on what your mission is, what your vision is, really what you exist for as an organization, and the people in the market you serve, and staying true to that, while also, as you said, being a place that people would want to work for. And um, and there's a balance there, because ultimately it's the people doing the work who make up the organization. So you've got
Absolutely.
to focus on retention, recruitment, etc. Um, how do you know? And I think this will be really useful advice for anyone, even someone who's just got their first team. Um, what are some signals that have alerted you that you are pushing too far in one direction? Like, oh, I've focused way too much on like what we're do like got to
Yeah.
take care of clients at the expense of the employee experience and their
Yeah.
commitment versus, oh wait, I've kind of lost sight of, I've forgotten that actually I exist to serve these clients.
Sure. So feedback, and one end of those would be feedback on the quarterly P&L sheet when you see you're losing money and you're like, oh, uh-oh, there's a problem, you know, and like that's what people don't realize. There's like, and I always make the joke, I'm glad I'm not in control of the money at our company because if it was up to
Yeah,
me, everyone would be rich for about a month and I could do all these awesome things. It'd be the greatest job ever. And then we'd go out of business and no one would have a job. Right.
yeah.
So it's trying to find that balance where you're not overspending on a lot of things, or even just making sure like you're hitting the numbers you want to hit. And like I don't even like talking about it because it feels like it's not the area I like to be in when it comes to like talking about billables and utilization rates and all those when it's not related to the clinical aspect of the job, right? If I'm talking about like, okay, we should be doing this because it's best for the client, I enjoy that. But to say like, hey, we need to do this to survive financially, like I don't like to have those conversations. But you have to figure out how to find that balance. Otherwise, we won't be able to accomplish our mission at all here, which is to help children, right? Um, and then the other side of that is the feedback side from the employees. As we've grown, I've personally seen that my role has shifted further and further away from what I like to do best, and that's connecting with people, right? The clients, the families, the staff. And I'm trying to make more of an effort to get back to connecting, and trying to find ways to do that because it's what I enjoy best, and I feel like there's positive outcomes associated when I am focusing on that behavior. So feedback in form of what the employees say, feedback surveys, and then also from the business side, you're looking at the P&L quarterly P&L sheet.
Awesome. The next thing you said that I'm interested in that I think would be valuable for anyone is finding your reinforcers. And I'm curious what you've learned as you've uh gotten growing. You probably get farther and farther away, or it's easy to get further away from the clients, right? And seeing the difference that your company makes firsthand.
Yeah.
So, can you talk about how you've, one, I guess, noticed, ooh, I've got to do something for myself here to get in touch with what inspires me, what matters to me. And so, one, just being alerted to that, like that's something missing. And then after that, how have you then gone in search of and found those things?
Well, I mean, recently I've been trying to connect and just even just schedule meetings and talk to different BCBAs at the company. Because most of my interactions now are with regional directors instead of just like down to the BCBAs or even RBTs. I need to try to get to the clinics more here in Florida when I work from home most of the time because I'm most productive when I can work from home since I have oversee other states. But just coming into the clinic and being there, seeing ABA, talking ABA with even RBTs, I think has been a good way to reconnect. And then scheduling those meetings with BCBAs and just learning about the people behind the clinician, I think is very important to me. And one of my favorite things to do in life is just meet people, right? Everyone is interesting and has a story. And that's, you walk down the street and you can just look at anybody and they have a whole story behind them of like a whole life that's been lived and interesting tales to tell, and so when you hire somebody new or you bring somebody into your work family, it's just a new opportunity to connect and meet somebody new and learn from that experience.
Awesome. So one is just finding, well, what is it I care about
Yeah.
and building that in your work. How did you know what signaled like, oh, I've got to do more about that? Like what was the light on your dashboard that went off that said, oh, this is a concern?
Yeah. Well, recently it was feedback surveys. We had some feedback surveys, which largely weren't so bad, but there were some that were indicative of some holes, and areas that we needed to fill. And that was a recent sign that there's more work I could be doing, and try to
Mhm.
step up and see what I can do to help out and reconnect here.
Okay. I got that. That's something you saw from coming from your company that would make a difference for your company.
Hmm.
Was there something personally you saw that was, oh, like my enjoyment
Okay.
uh depends on this and I got to do something to put that in? And I'm asking because I know one thing that people deal with at all levels is burnout. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times I like what I'm hearing and what you're saying, and I don't know if you were burned out. You didn't say that, right? So I don't want to throw that on you. But I talk with plenty of listen, mid-management, first-time BCBAs who are like just managing a caseload of RBTs up to business owners who
Hmm.
are, burned out. And what I hear a lot from these people, what's very common in their stories is that it's overwork, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not hearing that you're burned out, and I imagine running an 8-state enterprise. There's plenty of work to do, right?
Yeah.
So what I appreciate about what you're sharing is you've really taken time to find out, well, what really nurtures me, what keeps me going.
Sure.
Um, so uh, so I'm curious if there was just something you saw for yourself that clued you in personally to, oh, I've gotta build in, and you may not know, and if you don't know, that's fine. Could just been like intuitive, right? Like, ooh.
Hmm.
Um, but I'd love if you could share something that would allow other people to see, like, ooh, this is actually something I should probably take on for myself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Burnout is a real thing I've experienced in my life. I wouldn't say I'm burnt out now. I feel like uh, I can be stressed at times. The workload
Yeah.
can be large. But overall I enjoy what I do and I feel like I have a good team that I work with. And I really think knowing what your roles and responsibilities are and other people's are and trusting them to do what they need to do helps towards burnout and then setting up boundaries. I have my time a day that I'm with my kids after work and I'm not working at that time. And,
Yeah.
I have hard, fast rules of like, okay, I have to be done by this time so I could spend time with that family. And I'd say 95% of the time I can stick to that, which has been huge for me. Um, I would say just like in general, like just even comparing it back to before, like even my time as an RBT or BCBA before my own company, or even prior to that when I worked at other jobs, I remember there were times like I was not like I didn't want to get out of bed, to go to work, right? And it's
Mm,
not always just burnout. Like do you like going to work? Are you excited about your day? Are you looking forward to any aspect of your day today? And I can
yeah.
remember there were times in my life where just no, I did not. It's like I had to go here because I needed this job to pay a bill, to pay my rent, or to pay parts of tuition. And I had to do this as opposed to I wanted to do this, right? Um, and if you're not feeling that way now, when you get to work where, hey, there's something I'm looking forward to today, then you're missing something and you got to find what that is. And
Mm,
for me, like it wanes sometimes, like I never am waking up not like I'm never waking up wanting to avoid the day. Like that's pretty consistent. So that I would say that's good. Now, there are times I'm doing things where I'm excited. Hey, I'm going to do this today, and that's exciting to me. That's not going to be every day, but that's great that those exist. And I can still try to find ways to steer myself towards doing more of the things I'm actually excited about. I think would further enhance, my overall experience.
yeah. I really like that. I'm always looking for things that I can use as I guess like a compass, or I don't know if that's the right word, but what I really appreciate about what you just shared is the question, what am I looking forward to? And Uh, and you could look at that on like today. What am I, and you said this, right? What am I looking forward to today? And it may be not every day that you find something. Maybe you've blocked today for like today is catching up on paperwork, and I don't really enjoy paperwork, and I got to catch up on paperwork. Um, but if today I don't have anything looking forward to, okay, well, what am I looking forward to this week?
Yeah.
And and then probably uh what I am hearing and what you're sharing, you've done a really good job of making sure that you put in and build in things that you're looking forward to. Like, okay, I've got my team that I usually meet with, but I really love getting to getting to know new people. So I'm going to make sure that I schedule time and take some time to meet the new hire at this clinic or so on. So what I want our listeners to hear is that uh, that's a really great question to ask yourself. And if you don't find an answer, create something. Like create that thing that you're looking
Yeah.
forward to.
Or search for it. Or maybe
Yeah.
you're not in a place for it. Like, and I think overall, like I want the culture of our company to feel that way where it's this inclusive environment where people want to show up to work. Um, because I truly feel like especially if our RBTs want to show up to work, it's gonna have positive impacts for the clients we work with. And we have some examples. I know of times where we have staff who are not scheduled to come in. They come in to study, they come in to just check in on things. And it's, you don't have to be here, but they're there because that's their community, right?
Yeah.
They had that time someone came in on their PTO day because they were bored. You know, I
Uh,
was like, what are you doing? But they just wanted to say hi and hang out. And like that's, I think, a great sign that, we're building the type of
yeah.
community that I want to build.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, okay, great. What else have you learned?
What else have I learned?
Yeah.
Um, so I would say invest time in building your own I would even brand, networking for yourself. Take every meeting or chance to connect with people, even if you can't immediately see what that outcome will be. You never know what meeting is going to pay dividends down the line. Um, all of those little opportunities could lead to something. Most won't, but you never know what will. I remember I started, the first time I attended I saw a presentation by the Behavior Babe. Um,
Yeah.
and it was about dissemination in ABA. And she talked about just a lot of things regarding dissemination, but she brought up something about use of memes, right? And I love memes and I love ABA, and I'm like, hey, I can do this. And I like pop culture and all that. So I started my own page called Behavior Man on Facebook. Later created it on Instagram. The Real Behavior Man is the tag, where I'm just disseminating the science of ABA, disseminating pros and cons and just different aspects of the field, but trying to revolve around humor as much as possible, because it's what I enjoy. And honestly, that decision to do that has led to opened up so many doors for myself. I've connected with so many people in the field who I wouldn't have otherwise. And it's done a lot for me. So I recommend to anyone, you don't not everyone has to be an online influencer, but attend conferences, shake hands, introduce yourself, go to dinners. If you have a chance to go on a podcast, do it. There's so many things you could do. Take every meeting you can get as long as you have time for it. Because you never know what's gonna what's gonna come of any of those meetings.
Yeah. I'm interested in, I love that advice to say yes to opportunities and to not, um, like I can hear you don't necessarily, what I'm hearing is that you view invitation as an opportunity. And
Sure.
there's not a lot of uh, prejudgment of or um, calculating is this an opportunity, isn't, etc. It's just like kind of a curiosity of okay, this opportunity, like, can I fit it in my schedule? Awesome, yes, let's do it and see where it goes. right?
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that perspective. I am curious as someone, 'cause I'm geared towards, oh my God, I'm so busy, right? I was talking before you and I sat down talking to someone about how I live life out of my calendar, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't keep much of a to-do list. When I put something on my to-do list, it doesn't stay there long. I put it in my calendar. Gives me a lot of peace of mind to
Yep.
know, okay, this is how I'm going to get things done. At the same time, it also makes it look like I don't have time, right?
Yeah.
Because I've got 3 hours blocked to work on just get through my email, or oh, I've got to do some writing, so I'm gonna, I'm curious if you have any insights about how to, and you might not, but how to shift out of a mindset of I'm too busy to, well, let's see where this leads.
Yeah. I think it matters what you're prioritizing is important to yourself. Like I'm not the best in terms of scheduling. It's one of my weaknesses. So I would lie if I tell you I'm probably the most qualified to answer this question. But I have gotten better. Use of calendars definitely helped me. To-do lists are helpful. But in terms of like, okay, do I have time for this? Is it valuable to me? You have to decide what is valuable to you. If potential opportunities become valuable to you, then you can make time for it. And if even if that's scheduling it out 2 weeks in advance when you don't have anything on your calendar yet, okay, do it that way.
Yeah,
But for me, I've really seen the value of opportunity, right? And 90% of them usually don't result in anything directly measurable, but you never know. And I promise, like one of those things will pay off somewhere. Even it like it'll just be you shook someone's hand, met them for 5 minutes, and then 3 years later you run into them and they introduce you to somebody who ends up offering you a job, your dream job. But you wouldn't have had that chain of events wouldn't happen if you didn't shake that hand that one time. So you never know where things are what's gonna come from it. Um, but I think at the very least, you can improve yourself and your own skill set um, in these instances. So you could say even the immediate payoff of like any of these interactions is just working on your interpersonal skills, working on the way you interact and communicate with others. And you can always try to like reflect on, okay, how did that go? How do I improve that? And I think if anybody upgrades their ability to communicate with others, it'll definitely have pay dividends down the line. You'll be better at interviewing, you'll be better at pretty much anything you do in a field where you're interacting with people. So I think there's if you can find if you find value in it, you can find
yeah,
time for it. And I think that's the important thing. You just have to figure out what's valuable to, like, why is this valuable to me?
yeah. I love that. I'm hearing two things. One is that take some time to get clear on, and this has been a theme, but to get clear on and identify, well, what is important to me? What does light me up? What do I enjoy? And and if you're clear on that, then the second thing is that you can connect what you're doing now to that in a way that you will find value right here in the moment.
Sure. I mean, that's an easy way to find justification for making time for things that you wouldn't have otherwise, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well, it seems like it just pulls you forward to, okay, like the natural thing is to prioritize this now
for
because
sure.
I've identified it's a priority for me.
Yeah, and I truly think everyone can do better at communicating. And that's something you could start working on today. Like if I've seen challenges on TikTok where it's like talk to everybody you have an opportunity. Like if you're on the elevator, say hi to somebody and just start a conversation.
Yeah.
Or when you're checking out at a store, as long as there's not like a huge line behind you, talk to the person. Like
Yeah.
these are just all moments where you're practicing your interpersonal skills and you get more confident. And when you're more confident in things like that shows and people can see that and that'll also pay dividends. So and then these opportunities where you could go on a podcast where you can have a meeting where you can have a dinner with somebody or something, it just you're now more equipped to handle that. And again, it's just more and more practice every time you do those things. So you're just upgrading your own skill set.
Awesome. We are getting close to the time we set aside to talk. I'm curious. We've talked a lot about what you've learned. My next question is, what are you out to learn next, and what's next for Dia?
What's next for me? There's so much I want to work on. Like that's one of my issues. It's like I have so many ideas and so many things I want to do where it's almost like option paralysis.
Yeah,
Have you ever tried to like pick out a show on Netflix or something to watch and there's just so many options. You don't know what to do. So that
yeah.
happens to me. And I tend to start things and I don't finish them. I literally have a children's book sitting right here that's published. I have another one on my computer. It's not published, it's printed, but it's not published. I haven't sold it. Like that, like I have projects that I've started and haven't finished. So I need to like prioritize what I need to do and want to
Mm,
do in life and start tackling them. Right now, one of my big focuses is trying to figure out um, ways to solve issues in our field. Because like if you look at where we're headed, you continue to see like cuts, insurance rates cuts.
yeah,
And why is that occurring? Because the cost of ABA treatment is growing. It's at a level no one thought it would grow. And when the government is looking at that, they say, okay, where can we save money? And they see this huge expense on ABA. They're like, okay, save money here without even knowing much about it. So a lot of time and effort recently has been trying to figure out solutions to the current system and presenting them to insurance companies to try to come up with a new value-based care system that could potentially save insurance companies money without compromising um, clinical quality. So that's been one of my main focuses. And then I'm also working on a few different apps right now that one of them does kind of go hand in hand with what I was just saying there. And then another one is just another side project that I've been working on for a while. So um, those are some of the things I'm working on and continuing to try to learn more about those areas to improve my skill set to make the outcomes that I'm seeking now more likely to happen.
awesome, love it. Um, One question I always ask everyone is, what are you proud of?
What am I proud of? The
Yeah,
first, um, when you asked that, like immediately my kids came to mind. Like,
awesome,
so I have to go with that answer. I'm not going to think about it too deep. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and that's my biggest accomplishment in life, I would say, right there. So
awesome.
I'll keep it simple.
Um, And my second or my last question is, if people would like to, how can they reach you or find your company?
Sure. The easiest way to reach me would be Instagram at the real behavior man. You can reach out there. You could email me, Dia at stepforwardaba.com. And our company is stepforwardaba.com. Our Instagram at stepforwardaba. So those would be good places to check us out and get in touch, but also kind of just see what our vibe's about.
Awesome. Dia, thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights and your journey with our listeners. I really appreciate it. I know they do too. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Enjoyed this.
And to those of you watching, listening, of course, give us a like, give us a follow, 5-star rating, whatever buttons there are to press, press them. This wraps up this episode of The Flex, and we will see you back here next time.